Oh, let me tell you something. Bustin' makes me feel good.
Here we go.
Hey everybody, welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate the movies. I'm your host, Jay Light, coming to you with my last guest here at Edinburgh Fringe. Last day, Sunday. Everybody's fucking dying today, especially my guest today, Katharyn Henson.
Hello. My voice, it sounds like roadkill.
This is we're all in rare form today. We've all lost our minds completely. Whether we're like I'm so sleep deprived. I can't form sentences right.
Sleep deprived. Like, what time was it when you said goodbye?
I said goodbye at about 4 last night. But that's really about it. That's like, you guys were still going ham when I left.
Yeah. Yeah. I went to bed at 11:30.
Yeah.
So...
Getting the most out of this festival.
Yeah, right. I mean, cocaine, MDMA, and ketamine are a hell of a drug.
There's ketamine too. I didn't even hear about that part.
Oh yeah, that got rolled into the loop around I want to say 7
in the morning.
Correct.
Gotta love hashtag make your fringe.
Yeah. Oh man. Woo.
Well, this has been a wild time.
Yeah.
It's been very cool. It's been very cool to get to know people over the course of this festival. And you're one of my favorite people I've gotten to know.
Thank you.
You're a fascinating individual.
Thank you. That's so nice of you.
Oh, you're great.
I can't tell if I'm still. I felt what you just said.
Good.
I think there's still probably drugs in the system, but I was like,
maybe. But
yeah.
I'm glad to have met you.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we've been able to hang out. Now, when I remember we were talking one night about the podcast. And you were like, how come you haven't had me on? And I was like, oh, this is a no-brainer. Of course I'll have you on. And you threw a bit of a curveball at me. Hey, look at that transition, huh? We're talking about a baseball movie.
Yeah.
We're talking about Fever Pitch.
Right.
Which is a movie that I watched it, and then you told me the next day when we were trying to figure out when we were actually going to talk about it that you hadn't actually seen.
Never seen it. I might have seen bits. I've heard about it.
Okay.
I've heard about like some big scene at the end about the Red Sox. Mm-hmm. Or like I don't know.
Well, so the premise of the movie, this is the 2005 Fever Pitch. Not, as it turns out, there's also one from 1997 that is based on a book by Nick Hornby, who wrote High Fidelity and everything, right? So it's originally based on soccer. Football, as they call it over here across the pond.
In theory, a better sport. I mentioned
Yes.
that I liked baseball, and I had a lot of audience members. They nearly walked down.
Really?
Well, they were like, it's not a sport.
Baseball is the greatest American sport. You guys had better respect it out here.
That's probably why they hate it.
Probably.
Yeah.
I feel like if they played baseball more out here, there's a Yankees game that's going to be out here this year, right? Or did that already happen?
I don't know why you're asking me. I don't watch sports.
I don't know. Who knows? You made a baseball reference. Oh,
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I have
It's part of your act.
Yeah, I have a joke about sports preventing rape, but that's about as far as I go with knowing anything about sports. I used to play tennis.
You did? Mm-hmm. How long did you play tennis for?
I can't right now. I can't put time together, frankly. But I was like I was on the varsity tennis team.
Oh wow!
Yeah, as a freshman in high school.
Nice.
Yeah, but then I discovered rock and roll music and left that behind for a rock and roll lifestyle.
Fuck tennis.
Yeah, but I was good. I was good.
I buy that. You seem like you could have been an athlete.
Yeah.
You got a lot of stamina.
A lot of stamina. Jesus Christ. I'm just thinking of, I don't remember the last day I wasn't on drugs, Jay.
Since you've been here?
Since I've been here. So yes, correct. Stamina is definitely something I am chock full of.
Listen, that's what you need. Chock full of that and then remnants of MDMA.
Right.
All right, so Fever Pitch. This is the 2005 American version with, it's directed by the Farrelly brothers. Stars Drew Barrymore and Jimmy Fallon.
Yuck.
Oh boy. And it's a romantic comedy about a guy who really loves the Boston Red Sox and Drew Barrymore. And
that's it?
That's it. That's the whole premise of the movie.
So You know, so you're saying he just loves baseball and Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
That's the movie.
Exactly.
And I can't get a text back. From fucking... What? Do you think Drew Barrymore is attractive?
I mean, there are definitely better looking actresses out there.
Right?
I'm going to look at her poster on here. There's something about Drew Barrymore, right? Like, on this poster, she does not look good.
No.
She's clearly the star. They've relegated Jimmy Fallon to the sidelines, like wearing a hat. You can only see part of his face.
His career should be over.
This is why you wanted to talk about this movie, is more so than hating the actual movie, which you haven't seen, because you hate Jimmy Fallon.
I hate Jimmy Fallon.
Give me the rundown.
Jimmy Fallon. I'm a fan of late night television.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of David Letterman.
Okay.
Jimmy Kimmel is a student of Letterman.
Yes.
Are you familiar? I mean, I feel like every stand-up comic is probably a little familiar with the late night drama that happened when Leno left.
Oh, of course.
Gave the show to Conan.
Yeah, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Because, Leno left, gave the show to Conan, and then they brought him back an hour before, and then it fucked up the time slots, and then they were going to,
Well, they didn't bring... Leno threw a whiny baby fit. Now, are you familiar with when... Johnny Carson left the Tonight Show. Yes. It was supposed to go to Letterman.
Because Letterman was doing late night at that point.
Right.
Or, it's late night on NBC. That's right. So he was doing late night. Mm-hmm. And Leno had been doing a lot of guest hosting.
Yeah.
And they wound up giving it to Leno instead.
Yeah. And, it was like this big upset. So then, so many years later... They give it to Conan. Mm-hmm. Then Leno has a crybaby fit, like, I want my job back. And then he takes his job back for like a brief period of time.
Right.
Conan gets fucked. But then they give it to Fallon because I think, from what I understand, Conan wasn't appealing to the older audiences.
Right.
So the ratings were down. Whereas Fallon is just like a network hack who just... he just panders. The thing
that we all know Fallon is most famous for, previous to doing anything late night wise, was being the guy who constantly broke character on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. So he's like likable. If you find that likable, which I don't understand, but he doesn't push any limits with what he does.
Right.
He's very pandering. He's pandering to our generation. I mean, let's do a 90s sketch about Saved by the Bell. Mm-hmm. And safe, just giggling at the guests, never really hard hitting.
Right.
I mean, that man looks at himself in the mirror every day and screams. I guarantee it. He hates himself. I don't think this person is a person. He's a shell of a human. He's like a puppet, a network puppet. Whereas like Letterman and Kimmel have pissed people off forever.
Right.
I mean, Kimmel is sort of a student of Letterman. I love David Letterman. David Letterman is an asshole. Like, when Lindsay Lohan was going through her whole 5 million rehabs. I mean,
right.
She came on his show.
There's a lot.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. When she came on.
Yeah, she came on his show and he immediately addresses it. He doesn't mind making people uncomfortable because he's like, I'll tell the truth. You know? He had an affair with his intern. He addressed it on air. Mm-hmm. He's just like, this is all I'm going to say about this, and you can take it or leave it and fuck off. I like real.
Yeah.
Fallon
is manufactured.
Yeah.
Fallon, that's why I think his show does so well in its time slot, because it's safe.
Yeah, people don't want the truth. Mm-hmm. They like to be distracted by their phones or whatever, anything to not feel anything or question anything. Like Kimmel did this great. He does this. Wow, how am I going to run my hour? How am I going to run my hour in an hour?
That we do?
How am I going to run my hour in an hour? Okay. This like a segment where he'll ask kids hard-hitting questions. So I think I can't remember the exact question, but it was something like, what should the United States do about the relationship with China? Mm-hmm. And one of the kids said bomb China. And he was like, oh, no, But then all these Chinese immigrants and, they were trying to boycott Kimmel. And he's just like, well, I'm not going to apologize for this. Like, a kid said this. This was funny. I'm not condoning bombing China.
Right.
You know, like, get over it, you know?
Yeah. It's all comedy. That's the thing. It's like, I think the best comedy comes from not being palatable to everybody.
Right.
Like, like really, really great comedy is by design not supposed to be for every single person.
Yeah, even though like I desperately want to be funny to everyone, and I'm like trying to.
I mean, who doesn't? Of course.
Yeah. Well, some people don't care about being funny.
I wish
Jimmy
I could be
Fallon.
one of those people. Hey.
But I mean, so that what I love about this Fallon thing is like there are clips. Like if you like sort of go into this, everybody fucking hates him. Like I was really stoned watching the premiere episode of him on the Tonight Show. Seinfeld was a guest. Now maybe I was reading too far into it, but I feel like you can tell that Seinfeld is sitting there like you're in Johnny Carson's seat, you know, like just sort of like. And there's this great clip. I put it on my Instagram. Kimmel came to Brooklyn. Did one show, you know, or a few shows.
He did like
for
a week of shows, yeah.
Yeah. And he had Letterman on as a guest. And Letterman comes on and he was like, you know, when I was like fired or retired, I can't remember which it was, you know, everybody said a lot of nice things, you know, especially you were like effusive. And I have nothing but respect for all late night talk show hosts, you know, even Jimmy Fallon. Like, it is shade central. Everybody's like, real comics are like, fuck you, this is insane.
Right.
And like what happened to Conan was insane. It's all insane.
It's all insane.
Yeah. So I love it because I don't think anybody likes him, you know, and he knows it. And I believe he is known for being like an alcoholic.
I've
like,
heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of alleged alcoholism out of that guy.
And no judgment. I mean, if you want to be an alcoholic, be an alcoholic.
Right,
but
exactly.
It's like, but he hates himself because he fucking sucks. And like, whatever, if this is career suicide, I'm like, if I was ever asked to go on Fallon, would I? Like, I hate him that much. I once scared a stripper who was like a pretend comedian for a little bit, very high on cocaine, screaming in her face about hating Jimmy Fallon. Like, you know, when you see the fear come into somebody's eyes, and I'm like I'm just in the middle of my tirade, and I'm thinking, should I stop? Is this
What's going on?
Yeah. So,
I can't. I'm too far down at this point.
Yeah.
I think there's a point where like it's interesting to see the arc of Jimmy Fallon's career, right? Because he was, you know, SNL guy, and then he had his album come out, and I remember because it's just basically just an impression and music album,
whatever.
And I remember listening to it as whatever, I was like 13 or 14, and I was like, oh yeah, this guy's doing impressions. And now I listen to it and I'm like, okay, like good, but this is not something that I am going to be laughing at necessarily anymore, right? Like it doesn't move the needle for me the way, because my taste has evolved.
Right.
And I think that watching Jimmy Fallon in this movie in particular, where it's sort of like the middle of his career before he's really honed in on like what he really wants to do,
which is
be where he is now,
whatever the fuck that is,
just flop around and laugh at everybody on late night and do like musical, like kids instruments and play board games with people.
Yuck.
It's very uncomfortable to watch Jimmy Fallon in this movie.
Yeah.
It's because he's,
and especially as a romantic interest. My God, I feel like, do you think he's had work done on his face? Like in like Botox?
I would buy Botox because I think he's got to be. I mean, the stress of having a job where you're doing a daily television show and being like a raging alcoholic probably does not look good on you.
Yeah, and
And how old is he? Let's look. Jimmy Fallon is 44. I mean, this is Jimmy Fallon in November 2013.
God, you look into his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
You see depression.
This is
soullessness. That's not a happy person.
He's already got his tie undone a little bit.
Yeah, he's
already over it. He's already over wherever he is, and this is from 6 years ago.
Yeah, but
this
like
is bad.
that, you can see a lot in a person. I mean, like, look, I'm not saying I can like judge somebody's character right off the bat, and I've never met Jimmy Fallon, but like, you can look into a person. Mm-hmm. That is an unhappy person.
Right.
That is a deep soulless. No, I'm not going to say soulless. He has a soul, but it's troubled.
It's troubled.
Deeply troubled.
I would buy that. But
Yeah.
So this movie, the premise of it is it's based on a excuse me. It's based. Oh God. Got them all out.
Am I?
I think you're passing whatever
I know, I'm like,
whatever breakdown you're going through on
Get
the
ready.
inside to me. So Jimmy Fallon is a guy. He's a teacher. The movie opens with him like driving a bunch of kids to an office, and they're all listening to music in the car, and he's like, all right, well, let them. He's sort of like a bumbling teacher, and they go, and Reese Witherspoon is this high-powered executive at some
Reese
sort of.
Witherspoon is in the movie.
Wait, sorry, Reese Witherspoon? Drew Barrymore. I mixed up my bland white woman.
ladies.
I apologize.
Mixed up my bland.
So there's. It's basically, it starts out as soon you find out that he loves the Red Sox because his uncle took him to Red Sox games.
And
so
go
he's
fuck
like,
yourself.
he just was like, this is my guy now, and it's got like it's got classic like Fairley. Have you watched a lot of Fairley Brothers movies?
What
They did like
Something About Mary,
and Shallow Hal, and
I've seen some of them.
Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, I've seen Dumb and Dumber, and yeah.
So this is them. This is, I think, them trying to tone it down because they're close. They're doing. There's a couple wacky things that happen. Like, oh man, we're sitting next to a guy who's a sponge salesman at this baseball game. Oh, here's a sponge, and they're trying to say lines that come off as like quirky and quippy, but the dialogue's not hitting right.
I'm upset,
and it just feels weird. Because there's some sweet moments, right? Where Jimmy Fallon is like, there's actually one really nice moment in the movie where Jimmy Fallon shows up.
If Jimmy Fallon was there, it wasn't nice.
I mean, if you look at me, and now that I mention it, this is not going to come off as a good. It's going to come off as like weak and childish. At the very end of the movie. Spoilers. Sorry if you were planning on watching Fever Pitch.
Very definition of Jimmy Fallon is weak and childish.
At the very end of the movie, he gives up because he's like, well, if I want to be, because Drew Barrymore dumps him.
Good move.
She dumps him, and he's very despondent about it because he's a fucking man-child who wanted to go see a Red Sox game instead of...
Is that on?
Yeah.
Oh.
The camera's been on.
Oh, God.
What did you think I was setting it up for?
Let me take my hair down. I didn't notice what you were doing. Okay, here. Let's just pretend I looked more beautiful the whole time.
There we go. Look at that.
Oh, Jesus. I didn't know that this disaster was on film. Holy shit. Hello. Hi, Mom.
Man.
Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt.
It's okay.
I looked over and was like...
We have a little fourth wall breaking.
Okay, here we go.
So he goes and he breaks up with her because she's like, you can't keep fucking up our lives because you like the Red Sox. And it's a really,
a disaster.
It's a good argument on her end. She makes a lot of sense because Jimmy Fallon is a total fucking doofus in this movie. And
in real life.
But that's why I think it's hard to separate Jimmy Fallon, the person, from Jimmy Fallon in this movie because there's somehow Jimmy Fallon loses his likability in this movie. The most likable Jimmy Fallon ever gets in this movie is when he's like, all right, I'm going to sell my tickets, my season tickets to these prime seats so I can maybe try and win back Drew Barrymore. Jesus. That's the closest he ever gets to being likable.
This just makes me, I don't understand. I can't find love. And I know this is a movie, but like what? I haven't had anybody do something like that for me.
Yeah? Do you want somebody to do something like that for you though?
I don't know what I want.
I feel like I feel like the whole fucking idea of like a grand romantic gesture is lame.
I can't even get a basic
one?
romantic gesture.
All right, let me hit you with this. This is
so
a basic
excited.
romantic gesture that Jimmy Fallon does in this movie.
Fuck you.
Okay, so he goes one day. He finally, after like a solid 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes of him trying to hit on Reese Witherspoon.
Drew Barrymore.
Sorry. Reese Barrymore. After a solid 30 minutes of him trying to hit on Scarlett Johansson and convince her to go on a date with him. So Drew Barrymore is finally like convinced by her friends, like, you should go out with this guy because he's nothing like the men you usually date. He's not successful. He's not going to be a dick to you.
Oh, great. So my type.
And he goes to her house to go pick her up for their date, and she has food poisoning. and he just sort of like invites himself in and takes care of her for the night. So while she's sick.
Precious.
And he tucks her into bed, and he like goes and gets movies, and then he stays overnight on her couch to make sure she's all right in the morning. And by the way, this is not a nice, like this is like a movie nice apartment, but it's also a studio apartment. He falls asleep on the couch with his leg dangling off in a position that there's
Classic.
no way she couldn't see him from where the bathroom is. And yet she walks out of the bathroom the next morning, like showered and being like, oh man, what a crazy night. And then she sees him on the couch like, oh, what is he doing here? Oh my God, what a sweet guy. He took care of me all night while I was sick. Do you want something like that?
I had the flu recently, like seriously, like,
Okay.
you know, oh God, I thought I had built an immunity, but 4 days I had to cancel all my shows.
Ugh.
And I really had to reconcile with how alone I am. I was like, it's just me and the delivery guy.
Ugh.
Yeah, it was brutal. So I don't know. I want a power couple.
Okay.
That's the type of situation I want. I'm very independent. I want to be independent. I want the other person that I'm with to be independent, but I want it to be like a very deep bond of like, you're my person, I'm your person. Even if we don't like, you know, I'm a comic, whatever. If we're like, yeah, I don't know what the other person's going to do, but let's say we can't see each other for like a month. Like, fine.
Right.
You know, I'm like, I can be okay with something like that as long as I like have a strong connection. And I just wonder what type of person I'm going to end up with. Because
That's interesting.
I've always fucked below my pay grade. I continue to do it. And even like at this festival, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, what am I doing? And I walk into situations where I'm like, I see this is bad, but I will do it anyway because maybe it will be better than I think.
Right. I mean, I've done that for years.
Yeah.
Same
Well,
deal.
I'm older than you, right?
I think so.
How old are you?
I just turned 29.
Yeah.
You're a couple years,
I'm
right?
31.
31. Yeah, it's not by much. But we both, I mean, I think that that's part of not only being people who are prone to like alcoholic type behavior where we're drinking a lot and we have to
Chaos.
quit and we have to, exactly. We love being around chaos.
Yeah.
And that sort of lends itself to like, you know, we're comics. So
Right.
if we're in an industry where we're around a lot of chaos all the time as it is, and we're around a lot of chaotic people, then we get together with those people because we're like, okay, well, this seems like it's the right move. And then you do it for a little while and then you're like, oh, this is below me.
I mean, even guys who aren't comic. I mean,
Right. No, I've done the same thing.
It's like I've never dated. The only person that I've dated who was probably worth anything, I found to have not gone through anything in his life. So I couldn't, it disgusted me. Like I was like, you've been just charmed. Like you've had just a pleasant existence. You don't know what suffering is. And it sickens me. Like it's like you have no depth.
Yeah. You gotta have some depth.
Yeah. And like, I'm definitely like, I think I know, like, I'm just sort of tired of fucking random people. Like, I can fuck a random person. I can't fuck the same random person over and over. I want something more. I don't, you know, so I'm just
Right.
like, I'm just at a point where I'm like, there's no point in having that, because I stopped drinking. So I
Right,
stopped
yes.
fucking losers. So now it's weird. What sex was just like, oh, it's sex. Like, fuck anybody. Now I'm kind of like,
Right.
if I'm going to do this, I want to kind of like you and maybe see, you know, whatever. And then so it's just,
It's a crazy
disaster.
It takes a while to like break out of that kind of behavior too. That's the crazy. I love that you haven't seen this movie, so I can tie in things that you're
great.
just like, here we go. So the whole reason why Drew Barrymore, it took me a second to remember I can't believe it. It took Drew Barrymore's whole reason for liking Jimmy Fallon in this movie. They go out and he finally like comes out to her as a Red Sox fan. And she is a little put off by it at first. And then she's like, you know what? You have a commitment to something. And I like that. I don't usually date men who are like committed to anything.
yeah.
Do you identify with that at all?
You like with her choice or the type of men?
With wanting something like that, with like wanting like with her mindset of like you have something that you're stable about at least.
Wow. That's a crazy. I don't think anyone I've dated has been stable about anything.
Right. So
my God.
Do you want someone that has a little bit of stability, or do you think
me.
you can find something?
Isn't
You want
that insane? I mean, look, and I guess that's like some like really high level of narcissism. And like I said this to this dude that I was sleeping with. He was like, but I was like, look, like I am committed to stand-up comedy. I'm very responsible. I have all these day jobs. I have a great credit score. I have style. I have great taste in music, movies. You can bring me home to the parents, but I'm down to party.
Right.
You know, I own a dog. I keep plants alive. The apartment is mine that I rent out. You know what I mean? Like I can do everything. And I have never dated somebody who can do that much and more. And like, or more, or even that much.
Right.
And like, you know, this dude that I was sleeping with was like, oh, and you're modest too. But it's like, why does it offend you that I know my worth? I fuck below my worth. But like, I need to remind myself of that because I allow myself to be treated badly by choosing these types of people. So that is my one sort of downfall. I'm weird about money and I choose bad men. Like that I like. And I haven't found somebody like me. You know what I mean? Like, I want me. I want all of that. I don't know if that's going to happen. Or I want I haven't seen like a sparkle in somebody.
Gotcha.
But I'll find it if I think I like someone. Do you know what I mean? I'll like make excuses for that person.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because that's the thing. It's like, now that you're in this place where you have to sift through the parts that are like, what is worth compromising on versus what do you have to be steadfast in is like, I cannot compromise on this anymore.
And I'll pretty much compromise on anything.
Omid Singh is here guesting in right now.
Hi, everybody.
I love you,
in
Omid.
Blockbusting world. I'm so happy to be on this podcast. Who would have thought this would have happened today, huh?
Oh, what a surprise. Omid.
It's such a pleasure to see you.
You guys are two of the sweetest people in this apartment right now.
Do you have any opinions on Fever Pitch, Omid?
I don't think you should play baseball when you're sick.
That's a good point. Look at that. Omid coming in, dropping a hot joke.
Ooh.
And he's making a mime about doing some smoking outside.
Crack.
Yes.
Yeah.
Omid, big crack addict out here in Edinburgh. That's what he's known for.
I know. I'm excited. I'm going to smoke crack for the first time today.
Oh, I had, okay. So, Fever Pitch.
Right.
I feel like if you watched it, I feel like despite how much you hate Jimmy Fallon, I think if this movie existed without Jimmy Fallon as the lead, if it was somebody else like what's like are you a rom-com person? Do you like rom-coms generally?
Oddly, okay, this is gonna curveball. I like movies about teenage girls. You know what I mean? The teenage girl movies.
Yeah.
I love teenage movies. I think they're so fun.
Daisy Green's a lot like that. That's her whole element. Is she wants to live in that realm.
It's just it's like this world, like bedroom culture. You know what I mean? Like that whole idea of the bedroom.
Big
when you're
fan
a
of
teenager.
Booksmart.
No, I don't know. What that is.
Booksmart is up your alley. That's it's a movie about two teen girls on their last day of high school when they figure out that they were like valedictorian and salutatorian, and then they finally figure out like, oh, we could have been partying this entire time and not been such fucking losers. So it's their last night and they try and go find a party to go hang out at.
Nice.
And it's great.
Oh, I'm totally gonna
it's
watch
so
that.
great.
Yeah, I love that world. I mean, I love a lot of movies. You know what's like? I guess this isn't really a rom-com, but like the world. Did you ever see An Education?
No, I'm familiar with it, but I never saw it.
It's not a rom, but I mean, there's a world that's built. I oddly enough, I love romance.
Okay.
I probably don't seem like it. I guess I have a very masculine energy, you know. But I would say I'm pretty. I'll put it this way: I reserve my femininity for a person.
Right.
And I can be very, very sweet and nice for that person, which I think makes it very special.
Yeah. Well, because it's better that way.
Yeah. Like I'm not all like all over everybody.
Right.
And I'm pretty, you know, like if I decide to like you, then, you know, you get it all. I mean, it's very nice. So yeah, I like rom-coms. I like romance. I like romantic dramas. I like pain and heartbreak. I mean,
so say this movie exists in a world without Jimmy Fallon in it.
And I bet it's still trash.
Well, if we put in, just to throw a generic male actor out, throw like Colin Farrell, okay?
He's not my favorite.
Who's your favorite?
I love Tom Hardy.
Okay, so Tom Hardy's in this movie instead of Jimmy Fallon.
Ooh.
And Tom Hardy is...
He would never do this movie. He has taste.
He would never do this movie, you're right, but say he does.
Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy.
How do you even
Cillian Murphy would definitely not do this
I
movie.
know. God, have you seen him in Peaky Blinders?
Yeah.
God, I would... both him and Tom Hardy in that show. But oh my God, I watched that. I swear to God, I have watched that show like with my vibrator on my clitoris and like then watched porn at the same and like
I've heard it's one of the hottest sexual shows on
it's just
TV.
Is it?
I've heard that. Daisy Green said that she watched one. She was like, "This is the hottest sex scene I've seen in any television program or movie."
I guess I don't remember any particular sex scenes, but it's just like there's a very a swag about the whole thing that he has just as this. Oh God,
I see. So okay, but anyway, so throw Cillian Murphy or Tom Hardy or both, Cillian Hardy, some sort of combo with these guys. They're in here opposite our generic white lady, and they.
Can I be the generic white lady in this scenario?
You're a little bit. You're not a generic white lady.
Thank you.
You're absolutely
People
the furthest
think I
thing
am.
from the generic.
Thank you.
If anybody thinks that you're a generic white lady, you should fucking slap them.
Well, I think at first, you know what I mean? There's nobody. I can come off very normal.
Yeah, I guess. I think the first time I met you, you seemed pretty normal. But you were also like, we were also thrown into a situation where like you were high and we were playing Mafia. And
yeah.
that's a weird scenario for people to be in. Oh my God,
that feels like so long ago.
It does feel like so long ago.
That was in this room.
Uh-huh.
This is going to be the last thing we ever do in this room.
I'm so sad. I'm so sad all of a sudden. Oh, okay.
But anyway, so this movie exists and it's very low stakes. Like, I feel like you could watch this movie and it would feel kind of like a low stakes version of your desires.
Yeah, like bare minimum.
Right, because
which is all I've ever had. So
well, you can, but that's the thing. This is like the movie that you watch potentially, and you're like, oh, I could have that, and it's the kind of thing that also, like in its current form, you absolutely should not watch it. It's a bad movie. The writing is bad. The characters are bad. Jimmy Fallon, who is known for being like likable and pandering, is not doing either of those things very well in this movie. Reese Witherspoon
can't even do the only thing he can do.
Reese Witherspoon, Drew Barrymore, fucking Drew Barrymore. She can't do. She just like she's trying real hard in this movie, but it's not. None of it's believable.
She can't save it.
She can't save it.
Nobody can pretend to love Jimmy Fallon.
I know. Well, hey, this is the downside to trying to turn somebody into a rom-com star
who should never.
Exactly. It's the risk you run.
You asked me I want to be wooed, but I want to be wooed by someone I want to woo me in a way that doesn't make me feel like it's too like saccharine.
Right.
Right? That's how you say that word.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I've lost track of just everything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to be
like
it's got to feel like subtle, but not so subtle that you don't notice it.
Yeah. Like I don't mind being followed home by a guy who I think is hot. Do you know what I'm saying?
I can't say I do, but I can.
You're like, am I allowed to say I do?
I don't think I do. All right, let me. Here's a question. Here's a hot question for all the Katharyn Henson fans out there who might be listening to this, who think, "Oh, maybe I have a chance." What's your ideal first date?
Oh God, I don't know. You know, this guy. I just had so many memories. This guy took me he took me to the Belmont Stakes.
Oh.
For the Triple Crown.
Okay.
We saw American Pharoah win the Triple Crown.
What?
And then we went out to this, and then the Goo Goo Dolls played, which was just hilarious. I was just like, what the fuck? And then we went out to like this huge fancy dinner. There were a bunch of people there. And it was really fun. And ultimately, he and I ended up becoming friends. And then I ended up fucking his friend, who's this toothless Viking that I refer to in my thing, for like 2 years. But I was like, that was the best date I ever went on. It was just fun, interesting. You know, we got to get dressed up.
Yeah.
Hats. You know, when he won, we kissed. It was very.
See, that sounds like a better romantic comedy than Fever Pitch.
Oh, definitely.
Fever Pitch. That's where the movie starts. Fever Pitch ends with the Red Sox winning the World Series and
Yeah.
like breaking the curse of the Bambino.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about any of that. Because
Right.
it's like, all right, yeah, fine. He's a fan, and guess what? Everything's going to be okay.
Right.
This sounds more interesting.
This was just, it was like, I met him outside of a bar. I had just seen Billy Idol, which is like, what? And
I've seen a lot of random music around this dude. Billy Idol with the Goo Goo Dolls.
Yeah, I know. That's really funny, actually. Yeah, and we just rocked up to this bar, and he was smoking outside, and then we just started talking, and then whatever. I mean, we were smoking. I mean, it was just crazy. And then we went inside for a drink, and then he was like, "Do you want to go to a horse race?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then we met 1 week later at this horse race.
What do you know?
It was fucking great. I mean, it was like a great. He was all dressed up, and so was I. I had a big hat on. It was just like fun.
God. You should write a screenplay of that. That's actually a really fucking good story.
This dude is so dope. I wish I was attracted to him. And then incidentally, so our next date, this is just sort of fun.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, "Do you want to go to Florida?" So I barely know this guy, and I was like, "Yes." And so I bought a plane ticket. He's a merchant marine. So
Okay.
I went and stayed with him on, this like base where he was doing this in Florida. So we ended up, I realized he picked me up in a $100,000 Mercedes. I know, isn't this insane? Like, I wish
Whoa.
I wanted this dude like that, but we're just sort of like brother-sister vibe. But I realized immediately I wasn't really into him, and I was like, fuck, now I'm in Florida for the weekend. But long story long, this is the first time I'd ever done ketamine. We went to this gay club. I was trying to dodge him. Like, I was in a group text. I was just like, "Hey, everybody, I'm going to drop my pin. If you guys don't hear from me," like, I put all my friends
Right,
who
right.
don't know each other into the same group text. Like, they're all over the country.
Keeping everybody's got your back.
Abreast of. So then I was like, okay, listen, I got to how do I keep dodging his advances? What do I say? Do I go with, I'm not that kind of girl, or like, I used to be that kind of girl and I'm not anymore, and whatever. So that's the one I went with. I was like, I have a history of being slutty, but I'm trying to, you know what I mean? I tried to do this whole fucking thing, which was just not even true. Like, I'm like that. And we went to this Miami gay club, got pretty drunk, and in this moment he was like, "You know what? Kissing you is like kissing my sister." And I was like, I was thinking the same thing. And in fact, I am a slut. Let's have some fun tonight. I ended up making out with a girl. He made out with a girl. Then I went to the bathroom to do cocaine with this pimp, but it turned out to be ketamine. And I ended up sinking into this like deep K-hole. I'd never done it before. I fell on the dance floor. That's the last thing I remember. My friend found me. I was wearing this crocheted top, and we were standing in the corner, me and this pimp with the security guard. And my friend was like, "Hey, this is my friend." And he was like, "Oh yeah, she's got to go." And he was like, "Oh, I got to pay my bill." He's like, "We'll bring it to you outside." So then he grabbed my hand, but he realized my crocheted top was like stuck on this pimp's button. So he had to like unravel me from this pimp and take me outside, where they brought him the bill, and then he was talking to the girl we had both made out with, and I was talking to no one. I was just like, blah, 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 blah. And so whatever. That's my story. That's that. So
I'd rather watch
that's the
that
second
movie.
best date I've ever been on.
Fuck Fever Pitch. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
I know I just went on a rant. but-
Ketamine, Miami Nights. I don't know what you start out with horses, you end with horse tranquilizer. That's a great
my
story.
God.
It's all bookended.
So amazing. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you for doing this podcast.
Yeah.
Katharyn, you're closing out my Fringe Run strong.
Yeah. I just got chills with you saying that. It's so good.
So if the listeners want to find you on the internet, where do they look?
I'm a big fan of Instagram because I'm a child. It's you, that's spelled EW, girl, you nasty. That's my Instagram. That's I have my calendar on there, yougirlyounasty.com. That's how you find me.
Sweet.
Yeah.
If you want to find me, it's at Diet J on Twitter and Instagram, jlightcomedy.com for show dates. If you like the podcast, tell a friend, subscribe, join the Facebook group, links in the show notes. And Katharyn, thank you so much.
Thank you, and fuck Jimmy Fallon.
Fuck Jimmy Fallon. Fuck Fever Pitch. This has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change. Like Katharyn's movie about horses and horse tranquilizer. Ooh.